Greetings and welcome to Module 1 Unit 8 on Program Specific Outcomes. In the previous unit, we understood the nature and importance of Program Professional Outcomes PO10 to PO12 given by NBA. Now in this unit, we try to understand how to write program specific outcomes. Let us look at what are program specific outcomes about which we have already mentioned earlier. PSOs or program specific outcomes represent what the student should be able to do at the time of graduation from a specific program. So as you can see, the outcomes at the program level are classified into two. One is program outcomes which are discipline non-specific, and program specific outcomes which are specific to a given program. The PSOs are program specific and you limit it to 2 to 4 in number, and they need to be defined following a well documented process. It is not as if one faculty member of a department sits and writes the program outcomes, the program specific outcomes. The department has to follow a well defined or a documented process. We will see the role of that when we talk about the criteria of accreditation in the last unit. PSOs should only imply the core courses of the program. They should not directly address any of the electives of the program. And how do we write these PSOs? One convenient way is to look at any program in terms of the streams they have. For example, ECE broadly has two streams, electronics and communication. Mechanical engineering has about 3 streams, like you have design, manufacture and thermal engineering. Electrical and electronic engineering has electrical and electronics as 2 streams. Civil engineering has somewhere either 4 streams or 5 streams. So one way of writing PSOs is to write one PSO for one stream. So the numbers will differ as you can see from 2 to 5, but you have to limit it to 2 to 4. And in addition, because all programs offered by all institutions are not the same, each institution may have its own. PSOs should also address another feature of the program. All institutions are not the same, and the programs offered by them, though they may have the same label as electrical communication engineering or mechanical engineering, are not necessarily identical. So to that extent, the PSO should reflect any specific feature of the program that is offered, or when a particular department has some specialist faculty in some areas, or they have a very specific laboratory with state of the art equipment, and you want to consider your program is different from others through these specialities, PSO can also capture one of those specialities. Of course, writing PSO still is an art. We will see some examples presently. First thing is, the PSO statement should start with one or more action verbs. We will leave the word action verb right now as it is, but more will be elaborated in the following units. Some examples of action verbs. Action verb means what does an engineer do, like as you have seen already from the program outcomes, some of these action verbs are formulate, specify, conceive, design, plan, architect, build, implement, test, operate, select, analyze, determine, estimate, calculate, like that. You can add some more action verbs if you wish to. And what happens, this action verb, initially you will have one or more action verbs. These should be followed by clearly identified technical objects related only to the program of concern. And if you want to add, some kind of a condition can be added to the statement, so that under these conditions the proposed actions have to be performed. That is how the PSO statements are written. Now, one thing is, when you are designing a curriculum, you start with what do you call vision and mission of the department. You write your program educational objectives, program outcomes are given by NBA, then PSOs are written by the department, and the curriculum is really comes out of these POs and PSOs. Okay, it is derived from that. That means the sequence is you first write PSOs and then identify the courses that you want to teach. Of course, at present you already have a program and you are writing PSOs. But if you remember that curriculum of a program is derived from POs and PSOs, the curricular gaps should not be there in PSOs, because it is supposed to come from PSOs, and PSO should only capture the core courses of the program, not the electives. Whether it is open electives or closed or the professional electives, it should not be addressing that. This reason is very simple. All students should attain these PSOs, and all students will not take the same set of electives. It is for this reason the PSO should only capture the core courses, and to that extent no curricular gaps should exist in PSO. That is, when you look at a course, you should be able to identify which PSO that course is addressing. You should not find a situation where you will find it difficult that where exactly which PSO your course is addressing. And you should also not use words in writing PSOs like such as or like, etc., and various. So, be cautious not to use these words when you write your PSO statements. Now, let us look at what PSO statement should not be, because from our experience with faculty, there is because of inadequate understanding of the role of PSOs, people have written different kinds of statements. For example, PSO statement should not be POs reworded in the context of discipline of the program. Let us take a look at an example. Understand modern management and construction techniques to complete the projects within the stipulated period and funds. So, when you look at it, when you look at PO 11, which is discipline non-specific, here the construction techniques were added to that. So, that means essentially you are rewording PO 11 in terms of civil engineering. That is not accepted. Similarly, another example, apply the knowledge of mathematics, science, engineering fundamentals to the solution of problems of computer science and engineering. That is essentially PO1 restated in the context of computer science and engineering, which is also not a proper PSO statement. Another one, PSO statement should not be written to represent electives that we have already stated. For example, some people have written design, develop and test mobile computing application. That is just one elective. One of the reasons also given, they say in that department all students take this course, but it is officially declared as elective by the program. So, to that extent, even if all students take, elective should not get mentioned as a PSO. Now, let us look at some sample PSOs. Survey, map and plan layouts for buildings, structures and alignments for canals and roads. Specify, design, supervise, test and evaluate foundations and superstructures for residences, public buildings, industries, irrigation structures, powerhouses, highways, railways, airways, docks and harbours. Analyze water resources, hydrological systems to estimate safe and assured withdrawals and specify, design and evaluate water conveying systems, hydraulic machines and surge systems. Specify, select and formulate environmental engineering systems. Now, it is a fairly well written for a particular program. Now, your program may not be addressing all the other elements in this. For example, in PSO2 part, you may not be looking at foundations for powerhouses or railways, airways and so on, if you are not modify that. So, our suggestion is for civil engineering, you can start with these 4 PSOs and work from there, modify it from here, it makes it easier. And another thing we would like to point out, PSO should also capture the features of the program that differentiates it from others. The reason we have explained, you may have some special laboratories and faculty with some special particular specializations, or because of the local industry you may have reworked your curriculum to suit the requirements of the nearby or local industries. So, they should be captured. Let us take a look at some example. Sample PSOs of electrical communication engineering. Specify, design, prototype and test modern electronic systems that perform analog and digital processing functions. As you can see, practically all the electronic courses can come out of this too. Another one, architect, partition and select appropriate technologies for implementation of a specified communication system. If you want, you can elaborate, say wired and wireless communication systems. And the third one, design essential elements, circuits and antennas of modern RF wireless communication systems. This, as you can see, because of the facilities they have, faculty they have, this particular program has used this statement to differentiate itself. That means, potentially if a student wants to specialize in these areas, he knows that this particular department has the required facilities to train you in the area of RF and wireless communication systems. So, that is one differentiating PSO. Now, the same ECE, another program has done this. Specify, design, prototype and test electronic systems that perform analog and digital signal processing functions as per user requirements using currently available electronic components. Now, in what way this PSO1 is different from the previous one? Now, you added some conditions like using currently available electronic components. And also you are now emphasizing as per user requirements. That means your design or specification should start from by identifying the user requirements for signal processing. Okay. The second one, architect, partition and select appropriate technologies for implementation of a specified wired and wireless communication system. So, we added that extra 2 words, wired and wireless communication system here. As you can see, we are not really talking about, we are only talking about architecting, partitioning and selecting appropriate technologies. You are not prototyping a what do you call full-fledged wired or wireless communication system. Normally such a thing is not viable in an undergraduate program in most of the colleges. Now here this particular program wants to specialize in power electronics or provide or rather attract students who want to work in power electronics. So you added PSO3 as specify, design and test power supplies for electronic systems including battery management and power amplifiers using currently available electronic components. As you can see, this will become a differentiating feature of that particular program. Mind you, these are only sample statements. If you do not like or if you prefer to reword them, you are most welcome to write your own PSOs appropriate to your program. Now as an exercise, we request you if you can write 2 to 4 PSOs for a BE program in your branch. And mind you, when we request you to do this exercise, this assignment is proposed only to understand the nature of PSO statements. The outputs of these assignments or this exercise should never be considered as final, because the PSOs are to be written by the specifically designated committee as indicated following a well documented process. We thank you for sharing the results of your exercise at this particular mail. Now in module 1 unit 9, we will be trying to understand the nature of Bloom taxonomy and revised Bloom taxonomy. Thank you very much for your attention. We will again see you in the next unit.